Good morning, paisanos. It's been a long time since we talked about health optimization. I've been busy working out, working, dealing with life, but today I want to do a quick chat about food tracking apps. Now, the two big ones are Carbon and Macrofactor, and I've been using Carbon for quite a while. I started with my Fitness Pal, which is free, and then I switch over to Carbon because in a lot of other fitness apps, the accuracy of the food, when you search to add your food, isn't very accurate. So that's what put me to Carbon. Plus, Carbon um, is a Lane Norton product, so I would think that the foods in there are pretty accurate. Um, and so now I actually just made the switch to macro factor. So why did I do that? Well, I'll tell you nothing bad. I just wanted to try a different algorithm. Um, so I've been using food tracking apps for a while, and um, when you do that, you end up learning how to track, how to accurately track, and you have to be honest about the data metrics that you enter. So for me, I found that at a certain point, all apps will just dial down your carbs, and it's a program, and that's kind of the MO you need to lose weight if you want to lose weight. Um, but carbon was hitting like a very low calorie for me compared to my workouts, at least now. And I was like, I feel like you're pushing me to undereat, you know. So I downloaded Macrofactor and I put in my metrics, and Macrofactor had me, whereas with carbon I was at 18, they were suggested 1,800 calories. Macrofactor says, hey, based on your activity level and your weight and age, your maintenance is 2,900 calories, but we want you to have 2,600 to get in a deficit to get to your target goal. So I'm 197.8 and I put my target as 190. I try not to put huge targets. I put something that's doable, that if I lose 1 or 2 pounds, I feel excited. I'm very close. And when I get to 190, I'll settle there, and then I'll probably go down another 5. For me, ideally, I want to get to 185, 180. But really, the body fat is more important. I'm at 19%. If I get down to 17% and I'm still around 190ish, I don't care. So, so getting back to these two apps. So actually, I wanted to be fair and apples and apples. So I have actually both apps active on my phone. So I might run a comparison and leave them an ad and see what they do. But I already know Carbon's how the IQ and the algorithm is built up when you do your check-in and what it does and tells you. So I want to compare that to Macrofactor, and I'll explain that to you in a little bit. But let me make this point. I went back to Carbon and I reset the coach because I can't remember what I put in there, but I have to make a fair comparison. So right after Macrofactor, I went back into Carbon. I canceled my coach and all the check-ins, and I started back over, and I put in the same metrics I did as Macrofactor. And actually, Carbon reflected the same calorie needs predictions as Macrofactor. So what happened was my workout intensity increased over the years. So currently, I do heavy sprints 2 days a week. The other 3 days in the gym, my strength and conditioning is geared towards sprinting, and I have a day of plyometrics. And then I'm in the gym Saturday, sometimes Saturday, Sunday. But around that, I do 3 days of boxing and Muay Thai. So I'm a lot more active than I was when I started that. So I wasn't sure if my Carbon data entry reflected that. So that's why I wanted to kind of reset both and put them. So don't fare both apps, the calculations they use from a nutrition and activity standpoint, very similar. They both suggested very similar calorie needs for me to hit and very similar macros, right? And I picked a balanced diet. I didn't pick a low carb. I didn't pick a high fat. I didn't pick a keto. So they're both great. And they're both trending along the same calorie monitoring for you. The difference from what I read is how they approach your variation. So I know so for me with carbon, it's, I don't want to use the word punitive, but if you check in and your weight doesn't move after a while, it'll say, oh, let's refocus and it dial you down. Whereas if you check in and then you say, I wasn't compliant, it'll just let you ride for another week. It'll be patient with you. So, with that is if you're compliant, your weight should go down, right? And so the difference people say with macro factor is that macro factor takes into consideration you're going to have days or weeks so you eat more, eat less, have good. So it accounts for that. So it could be the algorithm just doesn't kind of penalize you. It kind of observes and tracks your trends. And are you overeating, undereating, or do you actually need calories? So the reason I kind of was curious about that is because there are two people. There are people who overtrain and people who undertrain. And if you're somebody who likes working out like me and you tend to overtrain, you'll know this because your coach or people who work out will tell you, hey, maybe you need to take a day off. Maybe you need to do some active recovery. You're always getting injured. Usually if somebody like that enters a weight loss phase, and you really have to curb your eating habits because food is so tasty. And, it's really hard to get that behavior down. But once you get it down, a lot of dating apps will just kind of get you on the linear curve. It's like, let's just get you down. And you get stuck in that mentality of eating less. You're caught up in the grind and the suffering, the mutual suffering of when your friends are like, I can't eat this. I only have 500 calories left for the day, and I need to figure out what to eat. And you get caught up in that world, and you can't take yourself out. But if your training volume has gone up at a certain point in your calorie reduction, you're going to hit a point where you're going to need to make an adjustment. So for me, I'm active a lot. I do a lot of dynamic workouts every day, dynamic warm-ups. So 2 days I'm sprinting, and I have a lot of explosive training. So my carbohydrate needs had to go up. So within the macros I needed, I had to say, well, I can't really do low carb. So I got to up the carbohydrate and drop the fat, right? Which was good for a while, but after a while I started craving fatty stuff. So I had to move to balanced. And at a certain point, you might need to tell yourself, if this calorie tracker has you at 18, but you're working out 5-6 days a week, you probably need to eat more. And a lot of your trainers or coaches will probably tell you if you're stalling out in your weight loss and your workouts are suffering, you probably need to eat more. So that's the other thing, is our life is very kinetic. You might be out of shape, eating like crap, and put yourself on this path to eat, to live healthy, to eat closer to your macros, to eat more whole foods, get better sleep, drink less, and work out. And at a certain point, your body is going to say, hey, we need food, buddy. But your mind is on this track to reduce food. So I'm kind of at that point. I was always squeezing myself to under 2,000 calories, but at the beginning of the year, I started to give myself a little extra carbohydrates, cut back the fat. And I realized with just one more meal of carbs, 30 to 40 grams, I was very happy. I felt very fed. My mood stabilized. So sometimes you need a little carbohydrate, or you need to add a little fat. And some days the calorie run you're making may have to come up, right? And this is where an app may not help you, but this is the human side of it. This is where a coach or a professional who's watching you outside helps you. So technology is great, but it's a tool. But have a coach with you to help you to look from the outside, because they're looking from the outside. They have other points of view. They're educated in this. So the other thing I'll tell you is that in keeping with our life being very kinetic, you're going to have days where your weight fluctuates, and an app is just going to be like, yeah, you were good or you were bad. Okay, let's move you to the bad. You didn't hit your goals, so let's move you to this decision tree. We need to reduce this after a while. But, if you're carbohydrate intake plummets for some reason, your glycogen goes on, you're going to lose water weight, you're going to go down in weight. If you're on vacation or it's holiday time, you have friends and you're drinking a lot, if you drink the next day, your weight's up. At least it happens for me. It takes a couple of days before it stabilizes. If I go and have a lot of sushi or Asian food, a lot of fish sauce, I hold a lot of sodium. If my gut's messed up and I'm constipated, I weigh a little more. So you may have, I've seen it days where I'll kind of climb back to 200 and I'm tracking my food. I don't know what's happened. Then I have days I dive down to 197, 196. I had one day where I hit 195. I don't even know what happened. So you got to kind of look at the big picture, and you got to remember your body is not this constant short-term thing that responds to inputs like a lot of the systems that we've developed as humans. Your body is constantly changing. Your testosterone levels and estrogen levels are constantly in flux. Your growth hormone, your thyroid levels. If you have a bad night's sleep, your blood sugar is high, your growth hormone production at night is off, your testosterone production is off, your metabolism changes that day. If you work out good every few days a week and you get great sleep, great deep sleep, and you wake up in the morning and weigh yourself, you're going to have a very good weight check-ins compared to very bad sleep. You know, it's a funny story, but my mom had, my parents had, a situation where they had to, my dad was sick, so my mom had to take care of my dad, and she had to be up very late. She couldn't sleep, until he was over with his thing. And she was checking her blood sugar along with him. And for that period of time that she couldn't get any sleep, her morning blood sugar started to climb over 99. And then when my dad was better and she was able to exercise, eat right, and have a long sleep, it came right back down. So this is how sensitive your body is. So this is my thoughts. I'll probably do a report on macro factor as I make the switch from carbon to macro factor. I'll compare them both, but know that they're both great. And for tracking and watching what you eat as you work out, both are excellent. I've had a while with carbon, so I'm going to try the macro factor and check their algorithm. They're completely different interfaces too. So, all right, have a great day.